While Morris, Brown, and Turner were all thriving on the court, each of them carried heavy burdens off it. By the time Fairdale won his first state title, Morris had already had 2 kids, fathering his first at 13 and then a second a year later.
Here he is trying to keep up with his schoolwork. He's trying to keep up with his children and do by them and work and do everything with academics because that was so important. The kids had to get their grades or they couldn't play. And he would talk and get really frustrated, and it was like, okay, you just give a little pep talk and now you can get through this. You can do this ACT and you can go to college and you can do whatever you want to do.
Less than 2 months after winning the state title, Carlos Turner went through the nightmare of losing a child as he found his infant son, Jamone, dead in his crib, a victim of sudden infant death syndrome. Turner played the entire 1991 season with Jamone's obituary sewn into a pocket in his uniform.
Carlos didn't get real close to everybody. You know, we saw all the potential that Carlos had, and so many things sort of got in the way of him being able to finish everything Carlos started here.
Brown had a loving, supportive family led by his mother, Ruby. But into his teen years, Brown had never met his famous father, Darrell Griffith, who led the University of Louisville to a national title in 1980 and enjoyed an 11-year career in the NBA. By the time Brown burst onto the high school scene, the whole city was buzzing about Darrell Griffith's son. Brown had a striking facial resemblance to Griffith and also inherited his dad's tremendous leaping ability. Griffith sent monthly checks, but the fact that they had no relationship clearly affected Brown. But Fairdale's Big Three was able to block out all the distractions and prepare to defend their state title in 1991. Not only were the Bulldogs one of the country's best, they played with the kind of flair usually reserved for college and NBA teams. Each game contained several high-flying dunks, and Brown, Morris, and Turner could throw it down with the best of them.
And it got to be where here, man, they went to the game. I've seen them throw passes from half court and they catch it and dunk it. And you know what that does to a crowd.
And then the other team would come out and they had tried to hit a couple of dunks, but they just couldn't compete when you got a guy, you know, that dunks like, you know, Jermaine's gliding like Jordan and Maurice is dunking like Dominique. I mean, you got these guys on the same team and Carlos is just, you know, he's just long. He's just, you know, touching the top of the block and dunking the ball in. I mean, it's just, it was unbelievable just watching it, man. You know, I caught myself a lot of times sitting on the bench with my hands on my, you know, I caught myself like this, watching them play, like I was at home watching TV.
I kind of got spoiled, I guess. You know, you watch these dunk contests, even today, the NBA dunk contest, I'm not impressed because, I mean, these guys were doing 360s in practice and, you know, between the legs and everything you see now, they were doing it.
Yeah, I remember in '90 when it was playing at Freedom Hall and Jermaine, the guy from Covington Homes, set up for a charge. And Jermaine just...
Tournament MVP Jermaine Brown with a screaming one-handed jam.
Jermaine probably charged him, but he jumped from so far back and he was outside the paint. The referee called it a block. I mean, because it was unbelievable, you know, to see it happen.
The Fairdale players were bona fide rock stars and had climbed to number 5 in the nation. Their toughest test to date had been a 3-point win over Tate's Creek.
The game was indeed a thriller with plenty of nice moves. Here, John Martin makes a nice play for Tate's Creek, turns into a 3-point play to cut the Fairdale lead to 6 in the second half. Then a few minutes later, Jermaine Brown turns it up a notch. Now you watch this move as Brown does the 360, and somehow the ball goes in. Maurice Morris also added some highlight material of his own. Morris with a slam for 2 of his 18 points. Fairdale led by 11, and they hang on to take the tourney with a 69-66 win. The Bulldogs are now 5-0 on the season.
But they got smacked back into reality at their own King of the Bluegrass tournament in December.
Fairdale, Kentucky's defending champs, against Tollsboro, both unbeaten, each with a top contender for Mr. Basketball in the state. The Bulldogs were in the white tops with Fairdale's Mr. Basketball choice, Jermaine Brown, showing why he had 23 points. He's headed to Tennessee next year. Now, Tollsboro's Mr. Basketball candidate did it all night long for Tollsboro, did all he could. In fact, Chris Harrison made UPA fans drool as he had 45 points, a game high. Yes, he's the Wildcat signee. Tollsboro was no match for high-flying Fairdale. That's Carlos Turner.
Jeff Thompson drops the ball. Nice pass to Carlos Turner, who makes the outside jumper. For Fairdale, they were rolling. Then on the break, Jermaine Brown ahead to Turner for the reverse slam. Fairdale 55-28 at the half. They extended the lead in the third quarter. Maurice Morris with the finger roll. Brown hit 23, Turner 21 as Fairdale rolls, no problem. 98-76 the final score.
Tonight, the Bulldogs' second round game was against Lexington Lafayette. They were in white. Fairdale was, with top gun Jermaine Brown once again in control. He had 14 points. Lafayette tried to press the issue, but that didn't bother the Dogs. Sean Bishop made the most of it. Yes, and the foul.
Maurice Morris had a big night as well, as he will drill a three-pointer. As the first quarter wound down, Fairdale was up 21-7. Tony Clay in a perfect position for the Slammerino, and kabong! Fairdale's Jermaine Brown is going to say, son, this is how it's done. And what's typical Bulldog basketball?
Once again, monstrous on defense, as it always is. It sets up the Dogs' offense to Maurice Morris. He had 16 points, 10 rebounds. Fairdale's 9-0 with an 81-56 win over Lafayette, advancing to the semis.
These are the semifinals tonight. Off the opening tip, Maurice Morris to Carlos Turner for the dunk for Fairdale.
Fairdale had their hands full with Cathedral Prep of Erie, Pennsylvania, because Paul Samlock gets the steal and the bucket on the other end.
Then in the second quarter, Morris went nuts on defense and on offense. Watch. Oh, man, is he good or what?
But the visitors from Erie, Pennsylvania, Cathedral Prep, kept in it. Jim Hamilton, the three-pointer there, and Cathedral led 35-33 at the half.
The Dogs go up for good as Sean Bishop gets the lay-in off the nice pass from Comstock. Bishop threw in 18.
Bulldogs knocked off Cathedral Prep tonight, 70-65 in the first of two semifinals. In the other semi, Tate's Creek has defeated Mayo 100-83.
Hall of Fame tournament in Lexington. Tonight it was the King of the Bluegrass on the Bulldogs' home turf. But the home team saw their 25-game winning streak come to an end.
First loss of the season tonight, knocked off by Tate's Creek in the championship of the King of the Bluegrass tournament.
Bill Henderson will move on the inside for the Commodores as they grab the early lead over Fairdale.
Fairdale came out doing what they do best, applying pressure, running, and jamming. Jermaine Brown had 23 points. Maurice Morris chipped in with 21 points, but Tate's Creek was red hot from the outside.
In the second quarter, the Bulldogs pulled to within one on this two-pointer from Jermaine Brown.
They led by as many as 15 in the first half and went on to win it by 9 on the scoreboard. It is Tate's Creek pulling off the upset with a 71-62 win over
Tate's Creek pulled away, and they win it 71-62.
Tate's Creek would exact a measure of revenge on the Bulldogs, snapping their 25-game winning streak in the championship game. Tate's Creek featured Darren Horn, who would later go on to coach at Western Kentucky and South Carolina.
We had beaten Tate's Creek in the Hall of Fame game at Memorial Coliseum in early December. Came here to play them. They napped us, buddy, in the finals of the King of the Bluegrass, and that was a wake-up call to these guys because we were rolling along pretty well, getting pretty comfortable, and probably that woke us up a whole lot.